Shabbat Shalom. This week's Parsha is Parshat Beshallah. It's also known as Shabbat Shirah, the Sabbath of Song, because in Beshallah, after the Bnei Israel cross over the dry land of the Sea of Reeds, and the Egyptians are drowned in the waters, Bnei Israel break out into song, Shirat Hayam. And we read about it this Shabbat, and it's a special Shabbat, the Sabbath of Song. But I want to focus on what happens after that moment of redemption, when the real work of peoplehood begins. Because as soon as they leave and they go into the wilderness, the first place they go, there is no water. And they're afraid they're going to drown, they're going to die of thirst. And then they continue in the wilderness after God brings a miracle in water, and there is no food. And so God brings the daily miracle of the manna, this coriander seed-like food, that Bnei Israel would get up in the morning and come out of their tents, and there would be on the ground manna from heaven. And these were the rules. Moshe said to gather what they need, to eat whatever they gathered, and not leave any to the morning. It seems to me it's the first instructions of a green life. Not to waste. Not to produce more than we consume. And just make what we need and not what we want. And the second rule was that on Friday, a double portion of manna was to be collected because it was forbidden to collect the food on Shabbat. And the second miracle of the manna was that on Friday night, the manna would not rot, but it would still remain fresh for Shabbat. And based on that idea, we have the two loaves of challah on holidays and Shabbat, representing the double portion of manna that was collected in the wilderness. Those were the rules. And of course, there were those who broke the rules. First, the Torah tells us that there were those who took more than they consumed, and they'd left manna to the morning. And of course, when they woke up, the manna was full of maggots, completely infested, and the manna stank. So why did they do that? Why couldn't they follow those rules? Two reasons. One, because they didn't trust. They didn't trust Moshe. They didn't trust God. They were afraid that every day would be the last day that they would have manna. So they gathered and they hoarded and kept supplies just in case the manna stopped. There was fear of deprivation that caused them to do this. And the second thing is, because we have a natural tendency to want to consume and gather as much as we can. It's almost a symbol of success, isn't it? 100 years ago, the symbol of power and of affluence was girth. 100 years ago, if you were overweight, it meant you had a lot of money and you could afford enough food to overeat. And some of us think that we were born in the wrong century. Now the symbol of power is height. What can I do? The second thing was that there were some, according to the Torah, who went out on Shabbat to gather the manna. Why would they do that? Well, again, not trusting Moshe or God, and not understanding the beautiful and the mystery, the beauty and the mystery of Shabbat. But there's a midrash that says that Datan and Aviram, two of the leaders of the rebellion in the wilderness, were challenging Moshe's authority. And they took their double portion of manna, and they put it outside their tent on Shabbat morning. And they invited everybody in their neighborhood to come see. Look, Moshe was wrong. There is manna that comes on Shabbat. Shabbat is just like a normal, ordinary day. There's nothing special about it. And the Midrash says that birds swooped down and ate up the manna in order to prevent Datan and Aviram's deception and their attempt to undermine the authority of tradition. As a result, there is a tradition for our surrounding Shabbat Shirah to feed the birds, to leave bird feed outside of our homes so that we can feed them and give them nourishment, just as in the wilderness they fed on the manna and protected us from the falsehoods of Datan and Aviram. What a beautiful idea. When you eat your double portion of challah this Shabbat, throw it out for the birds, whatever birds there may be left in the winter. Let's let them eat and sing the song of redemption. Shabbat Shalom, and may you have a Zis and Shabbos.